Hi everybody, from the Historic Arkansas Museum. I'm Casey Marshall, and today we've got a wide variety of things to demonstrate. You might notice I'm wearing my apron. I'm going to tell on myself just a little bit. I was too nervous to do it on camera, but today I am working on a kindling froe. Okay? A froe is kind of like for cutting shingles or other things, but a kindling froe, there's a historic version of it. You put your handle on and the blade edge is down, so you hold it above hold the handle and you hammer down to split logs. We need a smaller one and one we can use here at the museum, so that's what I've been working on today. But part of that requires welding right here. And I have gotten pretty good at welding, but not that good at welding. So I'm telling myself I welded it off camera, but I can start working on it during today's video. But because I chickened out and didn't show the hardest work, the best work on camera, we have some other things I'd like to show. I'm going to work on this here in a minute for the live, but I also want to show and introduce Mr. John, Dr. John Miller. He's making this great news. Now, if you have ever watched our show and tell, watched our pictures in the comments, you have probably seen some of his engraving work. And Peter brought in some great engraving tools today, so John has been showing us what it is. I'm going to turn it over to you, John.
Yeah, Peter's brought in some of these Japanese engraving tools. And the Japanese engrave a little bit different than I do. They often use these tools toward them like this, and that there's really an advantage to that if you learn that way, because it allows you to see the engraver tip a lot better. The American way of engraving, better open it.
Mount for light?
Yeah.
I just wanted to be blinded in the background.
The American way of engraving is generally like this, where you're holding it and tapping it around. The drawback to this is you don't have a very good range of motion, and you've got to kind of go around your work if you're going in circles. The only tool I see here that Peter's brought is this is a flat chisel, which you can do a lot of different techniques with. Most commonly, I use what they call a V chisel, which cuts a V-shaped line. But I'll demonstrate a little bit on a few of the things that I use a flat chisel for. And one of them is this kind of doing these borders. And this is, I'm just cutting out small triangles of metal. I've got the chisel cocked at slight angle, so I'm digging the corner in, and this is as much of a rhythm thing as it is a technique. But there's an example of the border right there. You can also dress up a corner by simply taking the chisel and putting it right on the edge of the corner, and just taking a little chip cut out of the corner. Again, this is a rhythmic thing. But that gives you I don't know if you can see that, but gives you a little bit of, breaks the edge of that corner and gives you a little bit of a decoration. You can do opposing cuts on these and kind of make a zigzag pattern. I don't know if I can do it with this light, but I'll give it a try. Here's you can see that it's not perfect, but it's kind of a zigzag pattern. But
this is just a simple tool that Dr. Bleed brought in.
It is, and I jammed it into a handle. Normally, the Japanese would use this without the handle, probably. This is relatively short. I make my engravers out of lathe bits, M42 lathe bits, and This one's forged. But yeah, this has got some engraving.
Show you what you can do when he has his own tool.
Well, it's mostly the light and the magnification. I don't know if you can see this or not, but we could go outside if we need to. But there's various techniques used on this. You can see here I've broken the corner here on that right there. The rest of this is done with a V tool, and these little scallop cuts are done with a rounded tool. But you can see here's some of those chip cuts, and here's one of these zigzags. But you can do a lot with just a few tools, a few simple tools. This is etched with a battery charger, but this is engraved, and the rest of the knife is engraved.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for showing and demonstrating that. I was working on the froe, and he was teaching the guys that were here today on how to engrave, and I was like, oh no, we need to show that, because if you've ever seen his skill, it's a great opportunity to learn. Thank you so much. We might get him to bring his tools and do another demonstration later, but here's another knife from him where he is etched into the handle and the cap on the back. Now, I have always promised some show and tell. Shane, most of these are yours. Well, I'll pump the bellows for a sec. Can you tell them what you got?
Well, we got a large Bowie in work, another Bowie here, two little Hunter utilities there, and then again these are back to John's work right there. Mm-hmm. And what else we got here?
German.
Got the Peter's tools.
Yep, more tools from Peter. More engraving tools.
There are a lot of collectible, both new and collectible old knives.
Mm-hmm. Would love it. Actually, you guys did great when we had the timber or frame and chisel sway. The tool I had a couple weeks ago, trying to name. What would you call this teeny tiny? I've heard kindling axe. We've heard chicken axe.
Chicken, yeah, like a chicken hawk.
A Fort Meigs axe.
Belt axe.
A belt axe. I would love to see your comments on what do you want to call this? What would you call this if you've ever seen one before? So small and so thin.
Hatchet.
It's a hatchet? That's fair. What is this, Mr. Peter?
Oh, it's just to show a pauldron. It's a bit of armor, probably Victorian.
Okay.
Shoulder part.
Wonderful. I think my piece is about gotten hot enough I can work on it some more. So my froe, I'm going to make mine slightly longer than a historic piece, but now that I've got my weld done, I'm holding it as best I can, and my goal is to thin out some of that material. No, it's much wider here, but it's also much thicker here. So my goal is to get back here and start thinning that out so it all matches. And then I'll hammer a slight edge. This is a froe. It doesn't have to be overly sharp. Whenever I get a slight edge on one side, then I can maybe file it to its sharp. But what will happen is when this has a edge on it, you hold it over your kindling and hammer down through it to break it up. So that's what my goal is for today, is to continue stretching this material now that is all set, thin it out, and put an edge on it, and then we'll attach a handle and start using this on Saturdays. Hopefully we'll be using this for Saturday programming this week. That's all we got from here on our first Thursday at Historic Arkansas Museum. Next week we won't have a video because it's school fair, and we will have a ton of people here, and that's a wonderful problem to have. By the way, you're always welcome to come see us here at the museum. If the doors are open, come by and say hi. Love to show you around the Blacksmith Shop or show you around the grounds. From the Historic Arkansas Museum, I'm Casey Marshall. Thanks for coming to see us.